Hey everyone, I'm back with another gameplay video for Domain Zoo. First to start off with the deck tech. Again, this is a list I used that was brewed by DakFane07. He's on the Zoo Discord, as well as he got a YouTube channel, so you can check him out. He's got a lot of great gameplay videos and talks more in depth about the deck tech. It's similar to what we've been playing with previously. It's just now that we've got three Dromoka's commands in the main deck, and because of that, we've adjusted the triomes to the Zagoth and Savai triome, and that's because we want forest and plains on separate lands so that we can cast Dromoka's command more easily. We've also adjusted a few of our fetches for that reason. The only other change in the sideboard is I was playtesting Fury in this league in these sideboard slots. Obviously, if I'm bringing in Fury, I won't have Gigantha. The idea is that this is good in certain matchups that can be tricky. Some of these, like Merfolk, for one, can be a little tricky because they've got a lot of incidental hate, and Fury helps a lot in that matchup. But I'll talk more about it at the end of the league. I wasn't super impressed with Fury. You'll see I played Merfolk. I didn't end up seeing the card, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I think I'd rather go with something like Remand in these last two slots, and that's just because it gives you another answer for certain decks like Yawgmoth, Titan, Tron, those sort of things, and it also helps against creativity and Cascade decks. So it's just kind of a versatile card. I don't think it's necessary in the main board. I like Dromoka's command better for the versatility, but I think since it can come in a lot of matchups, I think that's probably what I'll move to going forwards. Okay, let me just check. Okay, good. The recording's still good. And okay, moving on. So now we're going to start with the league. This is a league that I went 5-0 in. So this is my second trophy with the deck. So that's always good. And let's get into the games here. Okay, starting off, let's see here. Yeah, okay, this will be the first game of the first match. Once this loads, it'll get started. Okay, I did win the die roll and reveal Gigantha, and then we'll see what I have in my hand. Okay, this is actually a very strong hand. So probably our strongest start. It depends on the matchup, but often it's a Ragavan turn 1 into Kavu turn 2, and this hand allows me to do that. So right now, when I'm looking at this hand, my sequence is going to be Mountain or Sacred Foundry for Ragavan turn 1, and then turn 2 I can go Flooded Strand and grab a Breeding Pool, and that'll give me 4 colors, and I can play Kavu. So this is actually a very good hand, so I keep this. Okay, start out with Sacred Foundry, Ragavan, pretty easy. So now, I don't know what my opponent's on. Oh, he did reveal Kahira, which I probably should pay more attention to. So that means he's probably on a control list, my first thought. So he Prismatic Endings the Ragavan, that's fine. And then I go Kavu turn 2. Again, against control, I'm just going to try to run out my threats as fast as possible before they can hold up Counterspell. I'm lucky to draw a second Ragavan, so it's pretty strong, and I play the Triumph to make my Kavu 5/5. He's probably digging for something, maybe a Solitude. He doesn't find it. And then I'm just going to loot the basic forest away. So now he's already at 10 life, and I have the treasure token. So you can see, actually, he's already dead. Next turn, potentially 2 Tribal Flames. So even if he's able to kill my Kavu, which he does, he has Prismatic Ending, and he plays Brainstone, but now he doesn't have any Counterspell up, so I've got 4 mana, and I can do 10 damage with Tribal Flames, so this game's over already. Obviously, if he had a Force or something, then he'd be able to do that, but that was a pretty easy win. On to game 2. Okay, game 2, the first hand didn't have enough lands. The second hand is decent. I can go Nakatl into Kavu, and I've got also some Teferi. Teferi has some interaction. In a control matchups, he really turns into another threat, and that he's just one more thing the opponent has to deal with. So that's why I bring him in for this matchup. Speaking of which, just looking at the sideboarding real quick, What do I bring in? So I take out the Dromoka's commands because they're not that relevant in this matchup. Obviously, he could have binding, but so I think I leave one in. And then I also take out. Okay, yeah. So I basically all I'm doing. Oh, I do take out 2 bindings because again, he doesn't control. Usually, isn't really playing threats that I can binding, so it's not all that relevant. And then I'm going to bring in 2 Flusterstorm and 2 Teferi. Okay, I think I just bought him a land here. Yep, and then I'm off. So he shocks in a Hollowed Fountain. Obviously, I don't think he had any instant speed removal. I think he did that. Maybe he's got Consider Opt because he's playing Opt. So that's why he did that. Swing in with Nikotl. Fetch to make it a 3/3. Gets in for 3, and then I'm just a jam Kabu. Obviously, he could have Counterspell up here. Oh, he has Dress Down. Okay. So I knew he was probably holding something up, and since I have more threats in hand, I'm just trying to get him, apply pressure and get him to run out of his interactive pieces. So at this point, I grabbed Gigantha. Obviously, I could. To me, he's showing Counterspell, so I grabbed Gigantha because I'm not going to rush it. I could potentially play Teferi into Counterspell. I could play Scion into Counterspell. But I decided to just stay patient and grab Gigantha. I'm not sure if that's the right move or not, but that's what I did. You play different ways. He ends up playing Omen of the Sea, which is a card I haven't seen before. So now he's probably still holding up Counterspell, but now I have Stubby D. So I do jam a Scion. He goes for Opt. He's probably looking for a Counterspell. He doesn't have it, so I get Scion in play, and now I have Stubby D up, so now I have a big advantage because he's going to have a hard time killing Scion. Obviously, he could have Solitude, but he can't use Prismatic Ending on it, and he also could have Binding. But again, I've got Stubby D for that, so let's see what he goes. Yeah, I think he goes for Solitude here. Okay, that's fine. Again, I only had 1 blue, so I couldn't play Teferi and hold up Stubby D, which is why I didn't. Here, I just bolt the Solitude because I don't want him to gain life. He's already at 8 life, so his life total is under pressure. I do draw Nikotl, which is actually a pretty good draw. I do just try to jam Teferi here. I'm going to force him to use... Okay, he's going to scry too. I'm going to just apply pressure and force him to use whatever counters he has left at this point. We're getting later in the game, so he's at a low life total. I just want to keep pressuring him. Next turn, I can... so he's got another Prismatic Ending. Again, that's fine, but he's got 1 card left in hand. So next turn, I'm just going to try to jam Gigantha here. Obviously, he could have another Counterspell with his last card in hand, but I'm just going to keep applying pressure. He's at a low life total. I don't really want to play a long game with him. See what he tries to do here. Okay, that's the last card was Interaction. So obviously, I'm out of threats, but I ran through a lot of different stuff. I just draw Tribal Flames and jam it right away because I know he doesn't have any counters. He's going to keep trying to scry. I guess draw into some action. I draw Monkey, which is pretty good. So I don't dash Monkey, and that's because he's got this Colonnade right here. So obviously he could pay 5 and activate the Colonnade, and then he just kills my Monkey, and then I'm kind of in the same boat with not having anything here. But I do want to play the Monkey because he's got 0 cards in hand, and this is going to, maybe I draw more threats. And honestly, I just wanted to get this onto the board to have a threat to apply more pressure, because if not, he can just keep doing the scry thing and not really do anything. But the Monkey on the board means that he's got to be careful with his mana. If I can, I also want to try to force him to use these fetches to further pressure his life total, and maybe he doesn't have basics left because he's already fetched a couple. Like, I don't know how many basic planes he plays, so he might not even be able to fetch Shock. So I'm going to see what he does here. Okay, he goes and scries 2. Okay, he plays Brainstone. Again, he's digging probably for a removal spell, probably something. Plays a second Brainstone. So right now he's actually, I do draw Nikotl, so that's good, but right now he's kind of in trouble because he has to, he could take the 2 from Agavan and go to 1. Then he's locked out of these fetches. If he wants to activate the Colonnade, he's got to pay 5, which means he's going to have to do both these fetches into basics to activate it. So if he's got even basics left, which he probably does, but then he's going to go to 1 just to block this Monkey, and then now I just drew another threat. And obviously I do have the interaction left, but so I just attack with it, and he's going to fetch an island. Then he tries to Brainstone, and he just gives up. So I don't know why. Maybe he didn't have, that was his last basic island or basic land, so he couldn't fetch both. and then activate the colonnade. So he was just digging for something. He didn't have it, so that's a pretty easy win. But yeah, basically against control, with what I had, I just try to run my threats out into his interaction, and that's what happened. You can see all the interaction he played, but I just kept at it and kept pressure on his life total, and it worked out. Okay, moving on to game 2. Okay, let's see. I do win the die roll, always helps. Okay, reveal Gigante again. Okay, this hand is fine. It's a little awkward with Basic Forest, the Triome, whatever, but I do have a turn 1 play and a turn 2 play, so here I keep this, and I'm just going to opt. Usually I opt to play 2 threats rather than playing a Triome and then playing Scion on turn 2. So right now the plan is I'll go Overgrown Tomb for Nicodle. I don't care that it's a 1/1 because I'm on the play, so there's no risk of Ren here. Swing with Nicodle, fetch Sacred Foundries. Now I have 4 colors. My Nicodle's a 3/3, and I'm just going to jam a Brawler. He just grabbed the Triumphs, and right now I'm thinking he's probably on Creativity, which this is a good hand against Creativity because this. I'm just going to try to apply as much pressure early against Creativity and kill him before he can combo off. So right now I've got a lot of damage on the board. He's actually already basically dead on board, and there you go. I swung with everything, turn 4. So he even had some. He was even able to ice me, but the strategy for this deck against Creativity, if I don't have any interaction in hand, and even if I do, ideally I have a fast hand like this where I'm just going to dump my threats down, and he's going to have a really hard time because he can't combo off until turn 4, and I can often kill by turn 4. So like on the play, of course, this is easier, but that was game 1 against Creativity. Okay, game 2, I'm on the draw. Okay, this hand is not great because of the Basic Forest. See if I keep this. I think I mulligan this. Yeah, I do mulligan that. This hand's a little better. It's a little awkward. I have a lot of 2-drops, but it's not. I'm probably not going to mulligan this 6 because I don't think I'm going to get a better 5. Obviously, I'd like to have a turn 1 play, but this hand is doable. So he just leads with the Triumph. I get Bolt, which is good in this matchup because I want some instant interaction to disrupt their combo, so now I have it. I thought he was going to ice me here, so I thought about waiting to crack the fetch, but ultimately I just got the Triumph. I draw a Brawler, which is another threat, but I already have obviously a lot of 2-drop threats. So play Kabu. Kabu is probably our best creature in this matchup because they have a very hard time killing it. They don't really have any spells that can kill it. Whereas Scion can die to Prismari Command, and then Brawler dies to Bolt. So I just swing here. So he's already at 12. I'm going to play Scion, and now I'm holding a Bolt for interaction. I thought about bolting the Shaman before he attacks with it, but I thought about it for a long time. So he ends up attacking. So I thought, obviously I don't want him to create a treasure token. But when he attacked, I figured I'll just take I just want to kill this token, and I want to still hold up Bolt because there's a risk if I just bolt this, he could just have he could fetch Dwarven Mine or have a fetch in hand, get Dwarven Mine, and then just go Creativity on 1, and I have no interaction anymore. So if he's going to offer the trade, or at least he's obviously trying to get token here, but I'm okay with this. I'm going to just kill his token. Okay, and then he's got Bolt to kill my Scion, but that means he's not comboing off this turn, which is fine because I have 2 more Scions in hand. Okay, he ices my Kabu, and then I just play another Scion, and now I'm holding up Bolt. Again, I have to hold up Bolt, so I can't play another 2-drop. So what does he try to do here? Oh, he tries to Creativity on 1. I'm a little confused why he didn't just Creativity on 2. Because obviously I'm holding up some kind of interaction here. Maybe, let me think about this for a second. Maybe he thought I had Spell Pierce or Flusterstorm. That's probably what it was. He probably thought I had some blue interaction here, so he's going to keep up 2 mana open to be able to pay the cost for it. But I actually had Bolt up, so he's in trouble then. So at this point, now I've got, okay, I'm just going to fetch another blue source. And then I'm going to discard the land because I'm just looking for a burn spell or something. I get Dramokas, which is powerful because this means he won't be able to chump the Kavu, and then I can get the token, so now I have Fatal on board. 10 damage. He doesn't have any interaction left that can do anything. So that's the game. So just the important thing to keep in mind is be cognizant of what lands you tap and then what you keep open, because the bluff factor is high for like me keeping this as a Steam event. Like I'm sure if I didn't have an untapped blue source, he would have played that differently and I probably would have lost the game. So just remember that sometimes there's value in being able to just bluff that you have a Stubby D or Flusterstorm or something, even when you don't have it in hand. Okay, moving on to match 3. Okay, I win the die roll again. That's probably why I was one reason that I was so successful this league is you win a bunch of die rolls. It does help, although I did win on the draw a lot. Okay, that first hand, I don't know if you saw it. It had like a weird combination of lands, had basics and stuff, so I had to mull that. The second hand is fine. I've got a turn 1 play. So I do keep this. Obviously, there's a decision point to be made here on, hey, do I just go Triumph turn 1 so I can play Scion turn 2, or should I just play Monkey? I'd say on the play, I'm usually going to play Monkey here, and that's what I do. I'd say if this was on a draw, then it probably leans more towards me just playing Scion, or playing Triumph into Scion. But on the play, there's just so much. The Monkey just forces your opponent to deal with him right away, and there you go. He didn't have anything to deal with him, so now the game just kind of snowballs. I'm clearly against Merfolk with Aether Vial, so what I'm going to do here is just fetch a try. And now I'm just trying to... So, again, when I talk about this game snowballing, like, here I just fetched a Triumph on turn 2, so I could use the Treasure and Sacred Foundry to play Scion for 2. I could hold up Stubby D or Binding, but Merfolk, most of their creatures I care about are 2 mana costs, so that means I probably have another turn with this Binding before I really start caring about what this Aether Vial is going to do. And now I'm on the play, so I just want to apply as much pressure as possible. So, you know, I've got Monkey and Scion on board, and they're on turn 2. Haven't even played a spell yet. Or, sorry, haven't even, like, played a creature yet. They play a second Vial, and they don't have any land. They miss a land drop. So, at this point, I know they're really in trouble because, you know, they probably don't have a lot of one-drop creatures, and now things are just going to continue to snowball because I could just keep attacking with these 2 guys, getting more treasure tokens, playing other big threats, and at this point, he just... concedes because I have the Binding. I'm going to take his Aether Vial, and then my guess is he doesn't have like any play. He probably has only like he was hoping this would tick up so he can play some of his 2 mana creatures. But if I bind this, he's in trouble. He probably can't play anything. So he just concedes there. And that's obviously pretty easy win against Merfolk. He didn't even play any creatures. On to game 2. Okay, I'm on the draw this game. Oh, sideboarding for this matchup. So I did talk about Fury. So this is a matchup I bring in Fury for. I also bring in Veil of Summer. I take out the Stubby Ds because they're pretty useless in this matchup. And I do bring in 1 natural state just in case they have a Vial I can smash. And then I bring in Veil of Summer because that can help protect me from things like Subtlety, things like Tide Shaper, and Trickster, which kills Kavu, and that's like a kind of big thing. So all those Veil Summer is useful for, and then I think I cut a Dramoka's Command because it can be good to target their lords and kill their lords by fighting them and stuff, and it can also put a token on Kavu, but it's not, you don't really need 3 of them in this kind of matchup. So that's what I bring in. Starting off, this is another strong hand. I have a lot of threats, and I've got the turn 1 Nikadal, turn 2 Kavu, or Brawler. So this is actually a very strong hand, so I do keep this. Okay, let's go Waterlogged Grove, which they don't have the Vial. That's obviously big for me. Go Nikadal. Okay, it goes Tide Shaper on Temple Garden. So at this point, let's see, I do grab the Steam Vents. Obviously, I have a couple options here. I could attack. He's probably not going to block, and then I could fetch something else, but it just gets annoying to not have those 4 colors how I want to. And I also want to keep the number of creatures he has down, because he's going to start getting his lords in, he's going to start getting the Hex Catcher and other sorts of things. So at this point, I decided to just Tribal Flames for 2 on the Tide Shaper. Obviously, it's not great utility out of this, because all the damage it does, but it is good just to keep pressure on. It's going to make my Nikotl a 3/3, and then now I'm going to force him to play another basically 2-drop next turn. So he's not really progressing his board state that much, and I'm applying pressure, which is, I think, a pretty good spot to be on the draw. So I swing in for 3. Okay, he plays a Vial. So he's clearly got something he's going to flash in. He's waiting to do it. He didn't do it. Let's see what I play. I go Nikotl into Scion. Okay. So Scion's strong in this matchup because, so obviously I could have played any of my 2-drops. Normally I say Kavu is my strongest 2-drop, but it is matchup dependent. In this matchup, because of Merfolk Trickster, I don't want to play Kavu without some protection. The Scion there was a good draw for a couple reasons. One, he gives Nikotl Trample, which matters. But the thing that matters more is he's a flyer, and Merfolk just have a really hard time dealing with a flyer because they don't have any. He could have subtlety in this deck, but he doesn't have any flyers, so he has a hard time blocking it. So that's what I do. I'm just going to dump my hand with creatures. Obviously, I could have played Brawler, but I think Scion's the best choice in this instance. So he does have the Hex Catcher. Let's see what he does. Okay, he brings in a Silvergale Adept. So obviously he's holding up probably something else he could flash in, another Merfolk Trickster. He Tricksters Nikotl, so he can trade. I'm just swinging with everything. Sorry, so obviously I knew he had some kind of thing he could flash in, like I'm going to lose some creatures, whatever, trade. But I'm fine with that because, I knew I was going to get in with 4. He obviously could have Trickstered the Scion, then chumped it, but he doesn't do that. So I'm getting in for 4, and now his life total is under a lot of pressure, and I'm at 12, he's at 6, and I've got 2 more threats in hand I can play. So I'm not that worried about losing to Nikotls because I have 2 bigger threats that I can play this turn. So I'm just continuing to apply pressure. And that's what I do. I play Brawler and Kavu, just dump my hand. Obviously, if he has, I don't know, like 2 more Lords with the Island Walk, maybe that's fatal. But I just got to play what I have. So he ends up not attacking. Okay, I draw a Monkey. So I'm just going to swing with everything. I thought for a while about, hey, what do I want to do here? He's at 6. I think me just waiting doesn't really save me anything. Like, obviously, he's going to have some kind of, maybe he's got a Trickster, he's got another Lord, like he can flash stuff in with Vial. He can do all sorts of stuff, but I just know he's going to have a hard time dealing with the Scion. So most likely the Scion's at least going to get through with 4. And then if he plays some other stuff, maybe I can always play the Monkey to chump. And I also want to be able to loot this Wooded Foothills away in case I get a burn spell or something like that. So again, I just have to go for it here. Obviously, if he has the answers to it, then he's got the answers, but I can't just not do anything. So he plays Trickster, which kills my Kavu. And then let's see what he does here. Activates the Mutavault for some reason. Oh, I think he tries to chump with the Mutavault. Let's see what he does here. And then he gets Lord of Atlantis. So I knew he had a Lord. So he does block 1. Obviously, the Scion gets through for 4, and he's at 1 life now. So I did loot away the land for Tribal Flames, which is pretty strong here. So at this point, I only have 1 red, so I could play Monkey or Tribal Flames. Obviously, I want to play Tribal Flames, even though I know he's got Hex Catcher, but it's going to force him to basically sacrifice his whole board just for Hex Catcher, which means next turn he's not going to be able to kill me next turn, and he's going to have to find an answer to Scion. So something like Trickster or Subtlety or something that can block the Scion, or else he loses. So I just go for the Tribal Flames here. He's going to sack. I'll pay the tax. He's going to have to sack again. I'll pay the tax again, and he's going to have to sack a 3rd Merfolk just to not die here. So he sacks the Hex Catcher, which is fine. So he basically has to wipe his whole board to not die. And then, let's see, he's got 1 draw step. Doesn't find what he wants, and he goes for the Waterlogged Grove, doesn't find what he wants. So again, Scion's probably our best creature in this matchup. And that was the win against Merfolk. Okay, game 4. Win the die roll again. So I guess I end up winning die roll every game, but it's probably like a factor in getting a 5-0 in MTGO is obviously just have an advantage if you win the die roll. Although I never, up to this point, I haven't lost in the draw either. So, okay, this hand is fine. I can get 4 colors by turn 2, which is what I'll end up doing. Probably fetch a Triome turn 1 and then Kabu turn 2. So let's see, I play Windswept Heath. He plays Bobble. Bobbles himself, which means he's got a fetch land in hand. Okay, so he plays Monkey, so I'm thinking he's either Murktide or Underworld Breach. I just play Kavu, 4/4. It'll block the Ragavan. He probably has a Bolt in hand. That's fine. I have another threat in hand, so I'm not gonna get hit by Monkey. And he plays the second Monkey. So now I'm gonna double spell Nakatl into Leyline Binding. Okay, I could have obviously played. I could have double spelled Brawler and Nakatl, but I just wanted to get a creature on board and then get the Monkey off the board because I was worried that he could have, maybe he's got double removal in hand, maybe he's got other stuff. If you see Brawler dies to Bolt, Nakatl dies to Bolt. So I didn't want this game to kind of spiral out of control where he's just able to bolt both my creatures and now he's hitting me with the Ragavan, getting treasure tokens, stealing cards every turn. Normally, I wouldn't use a binding on a Ragavan's matchup because I'd like to save it for a Murktide or a Shredder or something. But since I have another one in hand, I think that was a fine play. So that's why I make that decision. Obviously, there's different ways you could have played it. I could have Tribal Flames the Ragavan. I could have played the Brawler. But now I'm going to keep drawing the threat, so now I'm in a good position. Let's see. He's got 4 cards in hand. He's going to counter the Nakatl, which is good because I just wanted to bait him with that, which is why I played that first, and I played Brawler second. Let's see, he's probably looking for another removal spell. Okay, Unholy Heat's my Brawler. Misses a land drop. And at this point, I'm just going to keep swinging with Nakatl and keep applying pressure. And then let's see what else I have. Okay, here I just Trouble Flames him because his life total is already getting low. And I can still hold up Binding in hand. And he could have Spell Pierce or something, but my guess is he didn't board in Spell Pierce or boarded it out because I have so many creatures in this deck. It's not that great of a play. So I'm just going to keep applying pressure as life total, and I've got Binding in case he goes Murktide or some kind of threat or tries to dash a Ragavan next turn or something like that. Let's see what he does. Plays a 4th land and does nothing. Okay. Draw another Nakatl. So I'm just going to attack. He's going to fetch to 5. See what he does here. Taps 4, returns with Otawar. So now he's probably pretty desperate. He's got 1 card in hand. I'm just going to play 2 Nakatls. I can hold up Binding, and then he just concedes. I guess he didn't have Murktide or didn't have any creatures. So pretty easy win there. Okay, looking at the sideboarding against Murktide's really play draw dependent, so my sideboarding on the draw will look different than on the play. On the draw, I'm bringing in my Graveyard Hate, so 2 Rest in Peace. I'm also taking out 2 of the Ragavans. It's just Ragavan against this deck on the draw, it's just not that great. It's really hard to get them to connect. They have Shredder, they've got their own Ragavan, they've got a lot of removal, so it's just not that great. I also take out a Kavu because they have Dress Down, and that can result in a blowout. I do take out Dramokas. You can keep that in. It's good in this matchup. But I do trim that, and then I bring in 2 Teferis. On the draw, Teferi can be pretty good because I can bounce a Murktide back, I can bounce a Shredder back, and then it's just another threat that I force them to interact with. So that's why I bring in Teferi, especially on the draw against Murktide. Reveal Jacantha again. Okay, this hand is good actually. I mean, 2 Teferis is a little weird, but I've got 1 threat and I've got some interaction. I've got Bolt for Ragavan. That's very important, especially on the draw. I don't want them to just Ragavan turn 1 and then it just turn into a whole thing. So This is actually a pretty good hand against Murktide, so I keep this. Okay, they just pass. So they're obviously holding up a removal spell here, or consider, that's fine. I'm not going to do anything. They go consider. Okay, they go Shredder here, and then they get the Bauble. So obviously my hand's a touch slow, and I'm on the draw, so I just bolt the Shredder. I don't want him to start being able to loot a lot of stuff away, get the Shredder really big. I can't deal with it, so I just bolted right away. Okay, I draw a Binding, which is good in this matchup. And then I just pass. So I could jam Kavu there, but the issue is, let's see, they've got Creature, Instant, Artifact. So if they have a fetch land, they can get Delirium, and then my Kavu dies right away. So I don't want to play my Kavu until I have Stubby D protection for him. And he's also my only threat. So that's why I just pass here. He just plays a fetch, so he's obviously holding up a counter spell or something like that. Just fetch a Overgrown Tomb. I think I could have gotten Triome there. It would have made more sense, but. Okay, now I have Domain. I'm just going to jam it to Fairy. Obviously, he counters it. I was surprised he didn't counter it. So that tells me he probably has a removal spell for it in hindsight. So I did tick Teferi up, but that was probably stupid. I should have just ticked him down right away, because most likely if he lets Teferi resolve, he has 5 cards in hand, so he's got to have an Archmage's Charm or a counterspell in hand. If he lets Teferi resolve, it means he's got a removal spell for him, which is likely Unholy Heat. So what I should have done is just ticked him down to get the card draw. Teferi will be at 1, but my opponent will still have to deal with him. So, and also, yeah, the reason I didn't play Kavu there is I couldn't, if you see how I fetched here. So I just go for the Plains to get Teferi in. Also, the issue is I play Kavu there and play Stubby D, they can counter it, and then they can still pay the tax if they have counter spells. So it's not a great play. So I just play Teferi. I should have obviously ticked him down to get the card draw, but let's see what he does here. He goes Iteration, and obviously he's probably going to dig for a Heat if he doesn't. Okay, I guess I land. So he does have Unholy Heat. So obviously I should have just ticked him down, because Teferi was going to die either way. All right, so my opponent's got, I haven't really pressured his life total that much, but now it's kind of time I got to start getting some creatures into play. And now I have Kavu in, and I can protect him with either Stubby D or Dromoka's Command. So that's very helpful. See what he tries to do here. Okay, he tries to Dress Down, so I'm going to just Stubby D him. I could actually Dromoka's Command against Dress Down to put a counter on him, but I don't want to give him the card draw with Dress Down, so I'm going to just try Stubby D it. He Archmage's Charms it, which is fine, because now he's got 3 cards in hand, and he just had to use up a bunch of spells to kill my Kavu. So it's whatever. Let me keep on moving here. So Dress Down kills my Kavu. Okay, I draw another Kavu. That's obviously a very strong draw. And I just throw him in. And again, now he's still protected with Dromoka's Command, so he tries to Unholy Heat it. I'm going to just put a counter on. Let's see, he's got another counter spell. Okay. Again, I'm just going to keep fighting through these counter spells and interaction. He dashes a Ragavan, which isn't great for me. Okay, I'm down to 11. Gets a treasure token. Okay, so he's got 1 mana up. I draw Nikado, which is great. I need more threats, and I can double spell into Teferi. So I actually punt here as well. Again, I just haven't played with Teferi that much. I tried to bounce his token, but I forgot you could sacrifice the token in response. So what I should have done is, obviously I learned my lesson from last time. He has Delirium, so Teferi's going to die on Unholy Heat no matter what. So I should have just not targeted anything and then drawn a card. So I lost my cantrip here, which isn't great by doing that. But it's just some, small mistake. And you can see me in the chat. I basically say that. Okay, he plays a Ledger Shredder, and then he bolts my Nikado. And then I know his last card's a Ragavan, so he's going to dash Ragavan. So things aren't looking great. See, he exiles nothing, or land, which is great for me, obviously. Get to draw another threat, that's good, powerful, and then I've got Scion up. So he draws a card. So now he's got Ragavan Mystery card in hand. He's going to just not dash Ragavan, which tells me he probably doesn't have a removal spell, or else he would dash him and kill my Scion. And he's got Blood Moon. So Blood Moon doesn't really do much at this point in the game because it doesn't affect Scion, and I have a decent board state. I also have a basic Plains. So I'm not like too worried about Blood Moon. And you'll see why. Okay, I draw a Ragavan. That's actually very strong. So I'm going to just attack, and I'm going to see if he wants to trade a Shredder or chump with his Shredder. He doesn't. So now I'm going to play a Monkey. The important thing is the Ragavan has first strike, which means he can't swing with his Ragavan, so he's got to hope he draws in another removal spell. So I can basically just block his Ragavan and then keep attacking with my Scion, which is bigger than his Shredder, unless he can connive, but then he needs a double spell for that. And he doesn't have cards in hand anyway. So I'm in actually a pretty good position here. So I don't need to really do much of anything. He's just trying to buy time. I draw another land. Oh, sorry. Last turn I did actually punt slightly. So I obviously should have moved Giganta to hand. I didn't. I think I just didn't think of it, because if I had moved Giganta to hand, then I could have played Giganta at this point, and then it would just be another 5/5, another creature that's just hard for him to deal with. So I didn't do that. Here, I'm tapping out to go for Binding. Also, I forgot. I actually could have played Binding last turn. I think I could have played Binding last. I do the math that I have 2 land types because I have a Plains and a Mountain. So Binding should only cost 4 here, not 5. So I may have been able to play it last turn. It didn't really make a difference. So I'm going to just bind here, and I'm going to bind his Shredder, because I just want to keep applying pressure with the Scion and force him to have to deal with it. Like, he's on a 3-turn clock, really 2-turn clock with Ragavan. So now I'm just going to keep applying pressure. He doesn't draw into anything useful. I've got Binding in hand. I attack. I decided to just go for it. Obviously, he could have a counter spell. He could have a removal spell. But basically, if I bind this Ragavan, he doesn't have a response to it, then he's going to take 6, and that's... So I'm just going to go for it. Okay. So he didn't have any interaction or anything way to deal with this, so he conceded there. So that was actually a pretty grindy game, but ended up working out in my favor. Blood Moon is very good against us, but not as good. If I already have a Scion in play, then Blood Moon gets much worse. So that was how that game went. And then on to match 5. Okay, so I think I won the die roll every game this league, which is very helpful. Okay, starting out, this hand is too awkward because I can't get 4 colors. So I can only get 3 colors, and I don't have a way to cast Ragavan anyway, so I have to mulligan this hand. This hand's awkward. No, I can't keep a 1-lander. Even with Ragavan, I just can't do it. Okay, this hand as a 5 is doable. I can fetch a Triome on turn 1, or I could get something like Sacred Foundry and have 3 types, which isn't great, but with 3 types I can cast everything in my hand, so it's a keepable 5. I don't want to go to 4 with something like this. So I bottom the Bolt, and I just keep like the threats I can play, basically. So on the play, game 1, let's see what I do here. Yeah, I just get the Sacred Foundry and play the Ragavan. Obviously, he kills my Ragavan. Next turn, I can play either a Kavu or Nakatl. It just depends on what they're on. He's got a Bolt. I see Steam Vent, so I think, okay, maybe he's on Murktide. So I'm going to just jam a 4/4 Kavu. I draw a fetch land. That helps a lot. And then he plays a Proving Ground, which tells me that he's likely on Creativity, not on Murktide. So now my strategy is going to shift to, now I know that was the reason I played the Kavu there, because Creativity has a very hard time dealing with a 4/4 because they can't kill it. So that's why I play Kavu here. And then I'm just going to swing, and I think I don't even loot away. No, I don't loot away anything because I want to be able to double spell this turn. So now I'm just going to apply as much pressure as possible. So now I have 2 creatures. He bolts the Brawler. That's fine. Nicodle. So he's already at 13 life, and he can't combo off for 2 more turns. So he's got to have some interaction, or else he's just going to die. So I attack with Kabu and Nicodle. I'm just going to loot away this land because I want like a burn spell or a creature or something. I do get another Kabu, which is very strong. So he goes to 6. Okay, he's going to fetch. So obviously he could combo off this turn, but I was on a mold of 5, so I don't really have any interaction with him. And my guess is maybe he was missing a land. Maybe he didn't have the spells he needed, whatever. Like, even if he combos off this turn, there's a possibility I can still try to fight through it. I mean, he'll go to 8, and he'll, if I draw like another burn spell or something, I can potentially fight through it because I have 2 Kabus. One of them will connect even if he blocks with the Archon. So potential to still fight through it, but he didn't have it. So that was an easy win. Okay, moving on to game 2. Sideboarding against creativity, I think I already covered it, but basically all I'm going to do is bring in the Flusterstorms. I'll cut a Tribal Flames because I want to keep like maximum interaction. It's not essential. I do trim a Dromoka, so I trim a Dromoka's Command and a Tribal Flames to bring in 2 Flusterstorms. So that's all I do for creativity. Okay, this hand is fine. It's a little awkward with 3 shocks, but if you look at what I have, it actually works out really well. I have 2 pieces of instant interaction to disrupt his combo. I've got a turn 1 creature into a turn 2 creature, so this is actually a pretty strong hand. So I'm going to keep this with the idea that I go Temple Garden turn 1, Wild Nicodle, and then Steam Vents turn 2, Neshoba Brawler, and then from there we're in a pretty good spot. So let's see how he starts. He just goes Wooded Foothills. Okay, so I draw a Ragavan here, and then I actually punt pretty majorly. So I think I just got, I was a little excited. This was my trophy match. I haven't lost a game yet this entire league, so I have the potential to go 10-0 for this league. And then I drew the Ragavan there. So I drew the Ragavan. I just didn't think fast enough because I was like, oh, Monkey, that's a great turn 1 play. And I make 2 mistakes. The first mistake is playing Sacred Foundry, because if you look at my fetches, now what I've done is I can't get 4 colors by turn 2. I can only get 3 colors. So that's a big mistake there. And then the second one is playing Ragavan. So I know that creativity plays Wrenn the 6. And the basic rule with Ragavan in this deck is you never play a turn 1 Ragavan on the draw against a Wrenn 6 deck. And so those are 2 major mistakes that, if they didn't lose me the game, they certainly made it much harder for me to win. Because you'll see, of course, right away, he'll just play his Wrenn 6, ping my Ragavan, and now I'm not in a great place. Obviously, if I played Nicodle, he could still have Bolt or something, but it forces him to use a removal spell on the Nicodle. So that means he's not casting Wrenn. He probably just casts Wrenn and ticks up, which is fine, but I still have my Nicodle in play, and then I can start pressuring his life total. So I didn't do that. So now I'm just kind of behind, because now I play a Brawler, it's only a 3/3, and now he just fire and ping the Brawler, and now I'm in a really bad shape because he can combo off next turn, and I've done basically no damage to him this game. So now I have to play Nicodle, I have 1 green, he plays a Fable, which means he's not comboing off this turn, that's good for me. Okay, so I think, let me see what I do here. Okay, I do play Bolt to just kill his token. I want to start pressuring his life total, and I also want to. I still have 2 pieces of interaction for his combo, so I decided to Bolt and start being able to connect. I think this was actually a punt. I think I should have played Leyline Binding for 2. I had the 2 mana available, and Bolt and Flusterstorm are both 1 mana spells, right? So I can actually next turn. If I play Binding this turn, next turn I can still play my Nicodle, still swing, and then I'm holding up Bolt and Flusterstorm. So that's like very good to disrupt his combo. Because depending on how he tries, even if he has Spell Pierce or something, like I can still probably stop his first creativity. So that was actually another punt there. So I draw a land, which is fine. It doesn't give me domain, so I'm just gonna attack with Nicodle. Just at face, I don't care about Wrenn in this matchup. And then I shock in, and I play Nikotl. So now I still have Flusterstorm and Binding up, but Binding's still 2 mana. So he grabs a token. I figure he's going to try a combo off this turn. Let's see what he does. No, he plays another Fable. So he's obviously slow rolling the combo. He either doesn't have the cards or he's really worried I have like a lot of interaction. So he's at 14. I attack away and let's see what he does here. Okay, he double blocks here. And then he bolts the Nikotl. So I'm not sure if I played this right. I just let him trade, but then I have no pressure on the board and he can combo off the following turn. Like I wanted to hold this interaction up for in case, if he combos. I don't know if that was the right move or not. I could have binding one of these tokens, then my Nikotl at least lives. I don't know if that makes much of a difference at this point. I'm in a pretty bad spot because he can I haven't really pressured his life total enough. He's at 14 still, and now he's got a lot of mana. He's got a lot of ways to dig for what he needs, and he's probably just going to combo off. So at this point, I just take the trade and try to hold up what I can, grab Gigantha. Okay, that was actually another punt. I didn't do the math right. So in order for Leyline Binding to be 1 mana, I need to have Domain. I don't have Domain. So I need to get a black source. The only black source I have is Shockland source is Overgrown Tomb. So I can't get Overgrown Tomb with Flooded Strand, which means I would have to fetch a Triome here to have Binding up for 1. But if I fetch a Triome here, I can't grab Gigantha too. So grabbing Gigantha was probably another punt here. I should have just held this mana up so I can have Binding and Flusterstorm to disrupt his combo. But now I only have one of the 2 up. So actually, there's another mistake there. I made 2 actually. So you got to remember what shocks you have in the deck, right? If you notice here, I actually have both my blue shocks right here. So that means this can't fetch for blue mana. So I actually tapped poorly there. I should have kept up. There just wasn't a good way to do it. Like if I wanted to keep up Flusterstorm and Binding, then I would have had to keep this as blue, and then I could have fetched a white here. But again, I still couldn't have played both because I didn't have Domain. So that was just kind of like a bunch of misplays this game that just added up, and like I just couldn't. I was like, oh man, I didn't do the math right. And then he plays Creativity, so I could have Flusterstormed here. But at that point I realized I don't have another blue fetch, or blue Shockland, so now I just punted majorly. So he just went for it. I could have flustered this, and I probably still would have lost the game because he got multiple Fables. He probably has another Creativity in hand, or he's got to Persist because an Archon's in the graveyard or something like that. But again, a lot of punts this game, so I play a Binding for 1, kill one of them. Okay, he's going to still Creativity on 1. I'm going to discard a Flusterstorm. Now it's not looking good. I do draw another Binding, so I just bind the Archon. I'm pretty desperate at this point. But I can't double spell with Gigantha. And he plays another Reflection, so I basically have to kill one of these tokens or else I'll get like the combo. I think it's the combo. You just make unlimited tokens. It doesn't matter. He's got Burn in hand, so he just kills me. So yeah, so a bunch of mistakes that game, and obviously like this is the champion. This is the undefeated bracket, so this guy's a strong player. He takes advantage of them. But yeah, those small mistakes in the early game, especially with the lands you select, the opening plays you make can be the difference in the game. So moving on to game 3. So that was my only loss in the entire league. So I was a little bummed by that because obviously I who knows how the game would have played out, but I certainly would have been in a better position to potentially go 10-0 for the whole league. Okay, this hand has no threats. So remember, I'm against Creativity on the play. I need to apply pressure early. This hand applies no pressure. So I can't keep that. This hand is much better. I've got three plays. No turn 1 play, but I do have some interaction for the combo, so this is a keep. I think I just bottom the Steam Vents. And then take the 2 Flood Strands. So right now I'll be able to go Triome into Shockland turn 2, have 5 colors, then play a 5/5 Kavu. And I know their deck has a very hard time dealing with Kavu. because they, basically their only removal is Bolt, and they can't kill the 5/5. So he's like our strongest creature in this matchup. See what they do here. So he's showing Fire Ice. So he ices my blue land, which I was a little confused about. I thought for sure he was going to ice the Kavu. I'm not sure why he did that. I don't know if he maybe. So as soon as he did that, I was like, oh, why would he do that? Like maybe it was just because it was the green source, and he was like, okay, last game I had a lot of Nacatls and stuff, so he doesn't want me to be able to play a green spell. And he didn't know, obviously, I had a Temple Garden in hand, but I guess that's the reason. But I was fully expecting him to ice this Kavu to save him the damage and save me from being able to loot. But he doesn't do that, so I'm going to just swing with Kavu. I'm going to loot away a Brawler because I already have like a lot of threats, and I'm going to play a second Kavu. So now he's in a lot of trouble because he's already at 11. He's going to play a Fable, so he's probably going to just try to chump this turn. But I've got 10 damage on board, so he's going to basically be forced to chump because he needs the fetch lands for his combo. I'm digging for a removal spell. I don't find it. So he's at 6. And then I'm going to play a Brawler, and then I still have Flusterstorm up in case he tries to combo off this turn. So obviously he's like basically dead on board. His only chance if he has like Transmogrify or Creativity here. And he doesn't. So now he's dead. He's going to be even more dead because just to make sure I'm going to bind his token so his token can't block. I'm also, the other thing I'm trying to do here, the reason I bind that token just right now is I don't know what he's got in hand, but like his decisions up to this point haven't made a whole lot of sense to me. So maybe he's got some kind of like blowout card. I don't know what it could be, but I just want to get the storm count up. Well, obviously, I want to remove the blocker to remove any chance he can like chump his way through this, and then I'm trying to get a storm count up in case he casts something that I can then Flusterstorm, and then he can't really do anything. So binding his blocker, and then I'm going to play Ragavan Dashed. Again, I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but I'm going to just not take any chances here. Attack with everything. I don't need to loot away anything. I'll get rid of the Archon in the graveyard. Because he's got Persist. Tries a Prismari command, and I just Flusterstorm it. I don't think Prismari command would have made a difference. Like, I mean, he's going to make... I don't know what he's going to do. I say he's just... you to make a treasure token and deal 2 damage. So, he could have made a token. I don't know what else he would have in hand. Maybe he had, like, 2 more bolts. So maybe he, like, makes a token, tries to die. I think he's dead no matter what, but, I don't know. I don't know what he's got in hand, so I was just going to fluster the first thing he tried to do, and then that just ends the game. So that was then. So that was the league. It was a 5-0. The list felt very strong. You got to see a variety of matchups. So I feel very strong about the list. I think I will be cutting the Fury for remands. I liked remands in previous versions. I think on the sideboard they're helpful in certain matchups that you run into a lot. And other than that, the list is very strong. The only game I lost, as you saw in this league, was probably, at least a large part of it was because I punted multiple times in the early game to kind of put my opponent ahead. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys who want to play the deck and want to learn more about it.